Hey everybody, welcome to the Odin's Call YouTube channel. Today, I want to just talk about a subject that's difficult for me because I am one of the most apolitical but political-minded people you'll ever talk to in life. Because I am not a conservative, I am not a liberal, and I am absolutely something in between. And I'd venture a guess that if you really dug deep, you'd probably feel exactly the same way. I don't think that anybody perfectly aligns with everything that the Republican Party comes out with, and I think if you completely align with everything that the Democratic Party seems to be pushing at everybody's face, there's something wrong with you. You know, it's silly at this point, and I'm convinced, absolutely 100% convinced, that the division that resides in this country does not stem from Americans disliking one another naturally. It stems from Americans being told that half of the country is their enemy. So I'm departing a little bit from my usual style of videos where I, look at pieces of music or I tell some of my own stories and whatever. And what I'm going to tell you right now is that I believe thoroughly and completely that every major media news organization that has a TV channel has decided that you are just an asset, that they can sell your eyeballs to the highest bidder, and they can sell them a tight little package of eyeballs that all pretty much think all pretty much think the same, have the same belief systems, and will support anybody who says get behind this. Well, I'm not a commodity to be sold for my eyeballs to be sold to somebody else. That's not me. I have my own thoughts. I have my own opinions. I have my own outlook on life. I have my own thought process. And you probably do too. But if you feel like you perfectly align with everything that Trump says, your eyeballs are sold as a package. If you perfectly align with everything that Biden says, you're being sold. Your eyeballs are being sold as a package to the highest bidder. And the challenge that I have for you today, and I mean this ever so thoroughly, is go talk to your neighbor. Go talk to the people that live on your street. Communicate with them. That person that you think you disagree with so vehemently, go have a conversation with them. You know for a fact that somebody in your life has a different opinion on something than you do. Ask them why. And listen for understanding and not just to respond. Ask them why they feel the way they feel. And even if you can come away from that conversation still convicted in what you currently believe, at the very least, you will have an understanding of how someone else feels if you go into it honestly. There's a lot of things, and I won't get into my side of how I feel about these things too much, but I'll give you an example. This Colin Kaepernick thing from several years ago where, he took a knee during the national anthem. Well, that was a pretty divisive move. There were a whole lot of people saying you're disrespecting your country, you're disrespecting blah, blah, blah. And there were a whole lot of people saying, but you don't understand. And you know what nobody did? Nobody said, why? Why did you do that? You may disagree with the motivations behind it. You may disagree with why he feels that way. You may disagree with it, but the least you can do is ask why and try to understand. And maybe, just maybe, be open to changing your worldview based on how someone else feels. Now, it's okay to be convicted in what you believe. You should be convicted in what you believe, but you should also be educated about what you believe. And if you don't have the mental fortitude, the emotional maturity to look at somebody with which you disagree and say to that person, why do you feel the way you feel? And then listen for understanding and not just to respond, your convictions are bullshit. If all you want in your life and all you want to do is surround yourself by people that agree with you on everything, That's a boring ass life. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. If that's what you want, 1984, you can have it. It's coming down the pipe if we don't change things up. This thought process that we have to surround ourselves with like-minded people. No, we don't. And no, we shouldn't. We should surround ourselves, at least here in America, with our fellow Americans, our neighbors that may agree with us and may disagree with us. And hopefully, we're all intelligent enough. We're all thoughtful enough. We're all considerate enough. And we're all emotionally mature enough to look another human being in the eye and ask them why they feel the way they feel. So maybe we can learn something. Maybe we can change our minds. And here's something wild about me. I used to be thoroughly convicted about a number of things. And until a few years ago when I looked up and said, maybe what I think is not necessarily right. And I started asking some questions. I've changed my mind an awful lot over the course of especially the last several years. There are a lot of things that I used to think were absolutely off the rails, batshit crazy, that I no longer feel that way about. And I would venture a guess that the majority of you out there right now who take a moment to get to really understand the motivations of other people, you'll realize that half of the country that the media is trying to convince you is your enemy are really not that different from you. They all have the same motivations. We all have the same desires. We all have the same dreams, for the most part. We may have some differences of opinion as to how to get there, but we're not that different. And another personal challenge that I'll give you right now, and some of you might listen to this, and some of you might go, no, you lost your mind. Either way, that's okay. If you're going to go to the voting booth next time and vote for anyone who directly says or implies that half of America is your enemy, just stay home. Because half of America is not your enemy. And I'll tell you what the deal is. Conservative media, liberal media, and there is really not much in between anymore, find the worst examples, the most radical opinions, and give them all the airtime. They've convinced the world that radical leftists are the problem and that 50% of America is a radical leftist. And they've convinced the other side of that equation that radical right-wing activists represent 50% of America, and they don't. Most of us reside in the 90%, at least emotionally and intellectually, somewhere in the middle of those crazies. And I think that very small percentage of absolute nut jobs on the extreme ends of the political spectrum, they get all the airtime because that's what keeps you watching. That's what keeps you enthralled. And that's what makes it easy for them to package your eyeballs and sell them to the highest bidder. Stop letting them do it. If you head to a voting booth, if you think you're going to head to a voting booth in this next election and make your decision to vote for a human being that tells you that 50% of your countrymen are your enemy, please stay home and talk to your neighbors, because we've got to stop the crazy. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over the news media trying to convince me that half of my countrymen are my enemy, because I know they're not. I know they're not. And you know they're not too. You just haven't really stopped to think about it. If you're kind of going, no, I don't believe that. If you label yourself as a conservative or you label yourself as a liberal, you might be missing the boat. You might be missing opportunities to build your worldview on actual reality and not what the media is telling you to think. Yeah, I got a little dark on this, but that's okay. I'm glad you're here. I really am. And I hope this video meant something to you. Reach out to me. Comment down in the description. You're going to tell me I'm crazy. You're going to tell me that there's no way to bridge this divide, that there's no way to bring people together. Yeah, you can. You can bring them together with music. You can bring them together with conversation. You can bring them together with friendship. You know, I'll end on this. A few nights ago, this past Saturday evening, I went out to karaoke night with my wife. We had a good time. I happen to live in one of the most culturally, racially diverse places in the country. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, so there's equal parts pretty much everybody on at any given bar at any given time of day. And I'm sure that there were several people in that bar that night with whom I would disagree. But none of it mattered. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter at all. Because we were there having a good time. We weren't talking politics. We were talking about a great song. We were talking about the last drink that we had. We were talking about our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations and how much fun it was to be out in public just chilling. We forgot how to do that. We forgot how to be in each other's presence without assuming that 50% of the people in the room are our enemy. They're your fellow American. They're not your enemy. Talk to them. I'm glad you're here. Subscribe or don't. Like the video or don't. Share the video or don't. Become a member of my channel or don't. Regardless, particularly if you live in the United States of America, you're my sibling. And I care about you. And I hope you care about me enough to ask me why I feel the way I feel, because I care enough about you to ask you that question and listen to understand and not just to respond. Thanks for visiting my channel today. I appreciate you all. I really do.